Sound great. We're live. We are live. Oh, let me adjust that camera real quick. All right. So,
decided to stop slouching.
well, you have great form, I must say.
I have good form and bad form.
Yeah.
I like balance.
I definitely like balance too. I have. Oh, who's that?
Oh, yeah. That's my boy. What's up, John?
So, yeah, I'm super excited for this podcast. It's been a weekend of just like fitness overload on this podcast. Yeah. Yesterday I had this girl on who's training for a bikini competition, like I told you, and that was an exciting show. And then now today your show. So, and you're nice and jacked and staring at me with this awesome form. So, anyways, let's get into your story, your journey, your fitness journey a little bit. Tell me about that.
My fitness journey?
Yeah. Tell me where you came from.
Where I came from, I've been lifting on and off since I was about 15 years old. I started for football to get better at football, and then it kind of just turned into a passion. I wanted to quit football in high school because I was like, I just want to lift now. And I did my first bodybuilding show, I think around 16 or 17 years old. But then as I went through life, I always had a problem with food, like food addiction, video game addiction. So I'd always fall in and out of fitness. So I'd get really fit, and then I'd fall back into just playing a crap load of video games, eating a crap load of food. And then I got to the point where in my 20s, I completely stopped lifting for a while, for like 3 years. And I finally like got back into it, and I'm a pretty obsessive person. I do things to an extreme limit, and I wanted to get back into bodybuilding, and I just wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the biggest, and I wanted to be a professional. So not using my brain to its fullest capacity, I started going way too hard, way too quickly. So later in my teens, I was very strong and very big. I stopped lifting for a while, and that muscle and that tissue, even though it shrinks, it doesn't completely go away. And then when I was about, I think like 24 or so, I get back into lifting, and I just start getting strong and big, super, super quick. And my squat has always been my strongest point. And when I got back into squatting, the first week I started squatting. So this was mid-20s. This is like before my injuries, or leading up to my injuries. The first week I started squatting again, I could barely squat 225. And then let me go back again a little bit. So like when I was 19, 20 years old, I could squat almost like 500 pounds. Like I have big legs. I'm built, like my lower body is very, very built. And so the first week is 225. And then the second week I go to squat again, muscle memories kicking in. I'm eating a lot of food. I'm back up to like 315 in a week, like reps. And the next week, the third week, I'm back up to 405. And I'm just killing it. And I was trained, before I started squatting, again, I was training legs, I just wasn't squatting. So I was still like doing leg extensions, curls, leg press. I just wasn't squatting yet. And then when I got back in squatting, I started getting strong as hell. And then in that same week, that third week, I put 450 on the bar. And I was like, because 405 I did like 12 times. I was like, holy shit, I'm getting strong as hell. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to go all out. I put 450 on there. And as I'm going down with the bar, it's clean. It feels good. And as I'm coming up, my leg just goes boom, pop. loud pop. I could feel it through my whole body. Like felt like I got hit by a truck from my feet to the top of my head. And I just come down with the weight. The bars were set up so it caught the weight. And I come down. And like people with headphones on across the gym could hear the pop before I even dropped the weight through the headphones. It was loud. And my boy that was spotting me at the time was freaking out. Like, what do I do? What do I do? I'm like, I went into like shock instantly. My leg wouldn't move. I was in excruciating pain, just screaming. And he calls the ambulance. I get taken to the hospital, and I ended up rupturing my quad. Like a complete rupture right off the kneecap. Like rolled it all the way up my leg. And basically, I went to surgery the next day. They tried to send me home. When I say I was in pain, like I was in pain 24. Like the pain I felt was unimaginable. And they're trying to send me home. I was like, there's no way. There's no, like, I was flipping out, freaking out. So they put me into surgery. And I go home. I get sent home after like 3 or 4 days in the hospital. And that's kind of like where this journey kind of started. So I got put on a bed rest in like the first 2 weeks. You might if we might get a little dark here.
That's fine. No, you're fine.
So the first 2 weeks of that injury, maybe like even the month, but the first 2 weeks was the worst. So we put a bed in my living room, so I couldn't do anything. Like I was done. I lost my independence. Like I couldn't do anything alone because the risk of re-injury, my legs were so big and so massive that and only like sutures were holding my quad back together. So any kind of little flex of the muscle could literally rip right through those sutures and re-injure myself. So I was on I lost my independence. So I was laying in the bed in excruciating pain on oxys and Norcos, and couldn't sleep. Probably like an hour a night I'd sleep. And got to the point where, my family was there for the first couple of weeks, but after a while, that stuff kind of faded away. And then my girlfriend at the time had to go back to work. So I'm like laying there on drugs alone at home and just in pain 24/7. And it gets to the point where like I'm laying in this bed. It was at night. It was like the third weekend, I think. And I was like, I had my little table set up next to me with my paper, my schedule paper for my oxys and my Norcos and stuff, so I didn't forget when I was taking them because I had like no memory from no sleep and being on the drugs. And when I was laying there one night, I was just like, man, I'm done. I'm fucking done. Like, I can't eat. People have to like bring me food. I can't go get my food. People have to help me go to the bathroom. People have to help me do everything. And then now it's like I sit here alone all the time. Like my friends kind of deserted me. Like I had one friend visit me twice. And I'm just like laying there. I'm like, this. Like I'm done. I like grab the pills, like all the pills. I grab them. I'm laying there and I like get ready. I'm ready to take them. Like literally seconds away from just chucking all these pills down my throat. Because I thought like my identity at the time was wrapped into just wanting to be big, and then also losing all of that, and then my finances were being drained going towards bills and stuff. I just thought I was over. And then it's just something like then it was funny because my dog at the time like jumped up on the bed and like put her head on my chest. And I'm like laying there with these pills in my hand. I'm like, looking at the pills, looking at my dog, looking at the pills, looking at my dog. And then I get this like almost like this feeling, or like this, like not like a voice, but this like intuition's like, just hang on, just hang on. And it's like laying there, and I was like, I can consider.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
I was like, fuck. So I'm like laying there, and I like throw the pills on the ground. I push the table over, and I just kind of ride out the rest of the night in pain. I was like, fuck this shit. And then when my girlfriend at the time woke up, I was like, hey, I don't know how, but I knocked the table over. Can you? But I came to the realization I don't want to take the oxys or the Norcos anymore. Can you get me like a dab pen and some ibuprofen, and I'm gonna just ride the pain out with that stuff, because the oxys and the Norcos, I found that like especially at night, were adding to like fueling the depression, fueling the negative energy of just laying there. So I figured if I got off of those, it would kind of help combat those feelings. And then eventually I get back into and at the time, like what I've been finding out is like when that injury happened, I was thinking about Taylor. What does Taylor want? Taylor just wants to be big. It was all about me. So once I get back up on my feet, I had to relearn how to walk. I go through the therapy, learn how to walk again. My therapist was great. She was awesome. It's that like she follows me on Facebook, I think, and we still chat from time to time. And then I get back, so I'm like zeroed out financially. I could like still barely walk. And then my friend at the my friend that was a manager at this car dealership was like, "Hey, bro, like, do you want to come sell cars? We'll pay you a salary plus commission." And he's like, "You don't have to do a whole lot. You could sit up. It's a lot of desk work and stuff, so your leg will be fine." I'm like, "Sure." And I was like, it gave me the opportunity to put money back in my account, kind of recover. So I was going through therapy while I was selling cars, and then so I was getting back to lifting, finally getting back to like, I would start jogging a little bit here and there. Even I do not run. I hate running. But since when you can't walk, you tend to like, oh my gosh, I can move. So like while I was on the car lot, I'd jog here and there a little bit. So I was getting some movement back, getting my mobility back. But then I started getting back into the same old stuff, like the lifting and being centered around myself. And one day I was selling a car. This was like during the winter, and I was walking across the This is my luck. I was walking across the parking lot at the dealership after trying to get a deal done. And this was after we closed. Everyone was gone. I was like the last person there. And I'm walking across the car dealership parking lot, and I slipped on a patch of ice. And I twisted in a way that tore my MPFL, a ligament that holds your kneecap into place in the same knee. I tore my quad, or ruptured my quad. So then I'm like sprawled out on the ice. I can't get up. I had to call my manager, my friend that got me the job, like to come back and get me up. We go to the hospital, and long story short, they're like, the doctor's just like, "You're not gonna like this, bro." Like after the X-rays and everything, I was like, "What?" He's like, "You're gonna need a surgery." He's like, "It looks like you tore your MPFL," and I was like, "Word." like no reaction. He was like, "You seem pretty stoic about it," and I was like, "When you went through what I just went through, dude, like this stuff's a joke." I was like, "This is just a joke. It's a sick joke." I was like, I just had to deal with it, I guess. So I go through that healing, like I go through that process, and then at the time of that, going through recovering from that injury, my mom ended up getting taken off of prescription medication incorrectly. and ended up with akathisia and serotonin syndrome. And things got really, really bad.
What is that? What is that?
It's I don't quite know how to explain it that well, but these SSRIs, if you're taken off of them incorrectly, can wreck your nervous system,
right?
And like cause a bunch of problems from physical to mental. And then if you're off of them for a certain amount of time, you can't go back, or else they'll fry your nervous system, which she was put back on in the incorrect window, which caused the serotonin syndrome.
Oh my gosh.
Like fried her nervous system. So then I had to like take my mom in to my house, and I had to take over the family business. We had a pizza shop at the time when I could barely put 2,500 steps in on my leg.
Wow.
So when that happened, and I started seeing stuff from my mom that people probably shouldn't see from their mom, like emotionally, physically, and stuff like that. Like it was really dark. It was really bad. And and then I was taking over this business I didn't want to be in. So I would work, do my thing, and I'd come home and I'd put myself back into the video games and the food. And this was like during the pandemic. So I was just literally working, come home, game, eat a bunch of edibles to get high as hell, and then eat a bunch of food and pass out and just repeat that. And to the point where I was 287 pounds, fat, sloppy.
Wow.
And one day I woke up and I was like, I was looking in the mirror and I was like, Taylor, what did you do, bro? This is not you. You got titties. And the fat is going over your dick, bro. Like, what the fuck? Like, this ain't you. It's not how you seen yourself even as a kid. So, like, this is my self-talk.
How old were you?
How old was I?
At that time?
It was like a year and a half ago.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, 26. So I'm like looking at myself in the mirror. And that picture I sent you, like for the thumbnail, like that was the day I was like, I gotta get my life right. So I started just slowly working back towards my fitness, but there were a lot of things wrong with me internally, with like how I was raised as a kid, how I was taught to as a kid from certain things, certain people, certain things, certain scenarios. So like I had a lot of self-worth problems.
And that wasn't something that you had ever dealt with.
I mean, I thought I did, like, but I was so unaware, bro. Like, I was so unaware. I thought I worked through all these issues, and I never even like actually worked through the issues. So like
how did you think you worked through the issues? Like, what did you do anything?
Just bury them.
Just bury them.
Bury them.
It's a tough man thing to do, right?
Bury them down until like they're so deep that you don't even know that you have them.
Right.
That's kind of where I was at.
Yeah. I think a lot of people do that. I did that.
Yeah, I think it's common. It's very common. I think a lot of dudes do that because it's like you're not supposed to feel feelings as a man and stuff like that. But everyone has feelings. It's just how you manage your feelings. You don't let them overtake you.
Right.
You work through them.
So what did you do once you realized that you hadn't worked through these issues? What was the
So at first, so let me backtrack. So at first, it started as losing the weight again. So just kind of slowly taking it off. And then I wanted to become something like after I became a leader at the pizza shop, I wanted to like be a man, because I was always like led by people. I was always like thought of myself as like not that dominating person, that leader. But the pizza shop, I'm thankful for that opportunity with what happened with my mom, because it put me in a position where I had to make decisions. I had to be a leader. I had to do things that I couldn't ask anybody. It was me, like sink or swim, you know. So
what was that transition like? Was it easy? Was it difficult?
I don't. I didn't really think about it. It was like I just
did it.
I just had to. Like it was just something that just had to happen. So it was like it wasn't anything that was like. I felt like there was no transition. It was just like I just got dropped in it. Like, boom, there you go. Good luck, bro. Like God, the universe is just like, here, I'm gonna test you to see what you're made of. And it's just like, so when I started on this journey, it was less about just becoming fit. It was more of like becoming that person outside of work while being fit. And I was trying to be a leader and do all these things. And as I was doing that and getting into shape and becoming a leader and wanting to be the man, while I was in my relationship, I don't want to speak bad on anybody, but at the time, my girlfriend did not see me as that. She seen me as beneath her. But my track record, I mean, I can't really argue with that. Like, how am I going to change someone's perspective if I wasn't performing in certain areas or certain aspects? Yeah.
Some people don't want you to be better too.
Yeah, I don't think that was too much the case, because we still talk and stuff.
That's cool.
And she wants to see me win. It's just like it was so long that I wasn't that she couldn't just see me as that in the relationship. So it got to the point where one day it's like we're in a 7-year relationship and we have a lot of stuff together. And one day, like, I'm trying to make this change, and it's like I'm going against this wall. It's like something's stopping me, something's blocking me. And like I identified, I'm not going to be able to do what I'm set out to do in this relationship. So I literally packed a bunch of trash bags in my clothes and I moved into my mom's trailer. And then that's where the process of becoming the man I wanted to become started. So it started off again in fitness, but after having the opportunity of leading the pizza shop, that bled into another area of my life. And then when I couldn't push that any further where I was currently at, I had to put myself basically in a new position where it was like, because I was safe in my relationship, I was safe in the house, I had all the comforts. So then I basically took myself and I threw myself in the middle of the ocean, like sink or swim, kind of like what happened with the pizza shop. I moved into my mom's in a fucking trailer, and I literally, so like when I started discovering, like, when I have certain interactions with people, I started noticing like these, like I would have a girl, like I'd hang out with a girl, and then all of a sudden, like I'd have these weird anxieties for no reason. And I was like, that I like that those pain points I started identifying. I was like, what is going on here? Because this makes no sense. And I started identifying, like, I had a bunch of internal issues, what we were talking about earlier. Like I suppressed all these issues, and they were along the lines of like abandonment type of issues. And so the process of dealing with the emotions, like a lot of people talk about therapy. I never really did therapy. Therapy might work for some people. But I personally believe that your body and your brain doesn't really know the difference between you talking about your issues versus you just feeling them and then working through them. So basically, I just work through my emotions by feeling them, like letting myself feel my, like, whatever had to come out.
I think I want to stop you right there. I think for most people don't know what they're feeling. And so that's what therapy helps. It helps kind of like it helps them realize, like, okay, that's what I'm feeling, and this is how I should handle it.
Okay.
I think that's what therapy does for most people.
Okay.
And, because like talking about your issues, like some people just need to talk to somebody in order to realize like what the situation's about.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I basically did that with myself. I like laid in. I isolated myself from everybody.
Yeah.
Like, so when I left, I got to the point where like after I identified these issues, I literally just isolated myself. So I went back to, it was just work, gym, work, gym, work, gym, and then I would sit in the room at my mom's and just write and like
a journal
and dig deep inside it, like trying to ask myself why when I had this feeling. Like I would just ask myself over and over.
What did you find when you did that?
What's that?
When you were journaling, like what kind of things did you find? What did you realize about yourself?
I just had like abandonment issues behind just being adopted, I guess, from my biological father not being in my life, and then also self-worth problems with people talking to me a certain way, with my learning disabilities. So in school, when I was a young kid, I had a teacher first through third grade, basically. So I had dyslexia, ADHD, and I couldn't learn how to read. Like I could not read first through third grade, like below kindergarten reading level. And she would constantly, those 3 years, like, you're stupid. You're stupid. Gosh. You're dumb. You're never going to graduate. You'll never amount to anything. So, like, as a kid, you're being instilled and indoctrinated with
you're not good enough.
You're not good enough. And then in my family environment, I have had certain, not my siblings, not my parents, but in the, like, when we get Christmases, vacations, any kind of bigger family gathering with other family members, you're not blood, you're not Italian, you don't belong. And like,
you look Italian.
I know, I get that a lot. And like basically be treated like a third class fucking person.
Yeah.
Literally, I would get fucking bullied. And so like as a young kid, so I kind of care. I wasn't taught how to drop that stuff. So what I was unaware of is I carried that stuff through my 20s up until I was like 27 last year. So that's like I started identifying like, oh, like, because I would always say like, oh, those things don't bother me. Those things don't bother me, and they didn't.
But they did.
But I never worked through the getting to the other side of it. Mm-hmm. So I was stuck in a paradigm of being that, like, seeing myself as like not good enough, but I buried it so deep that I was unaware that I actually viewed myself like that. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of like brushed it off and then like told myself, but I never really like did the work to be able to do that. So basically that just came from identifying those things, and then I just took action to solidify like I was good, like I was good enough, I was worthy, and I started getting results. A big thing was like the gym. I started getting results in the gym, real results, not like when I would lift in the past, it was like I was so focused on the exterior, just becoming big, just becoming lean. And then this time around, I was like, how can I change myself, my internal state, and then operate based off of how I am internally, and then let that kind of flow into life, and then watch my exterior change. So as I started changing the paradigm within, and then started taking the actions more naturally instead of forced, it just opened up this gateway of like, holy shit, bro. The whole time you've been a bad motherfucker and you didn't even know, dude. Like, holy cow. But there has been some, like, that was a journey too, because there's a couple times like I fell off for a little bit. And then I would get back on, and then since I was always into gaming or bodybuilding as a younger person, I hardly ever went out, ever. So there was like a period of time for a few months where I was going out a lot, like going out to the bars, going out and like doing dumb shit with people. But I was still like, so I was in Toastmasters, which is a public speaking club. That was at like 7:30 a.m. So like, if I was out till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning doing dumb shit, I would still go to Toastmasters. It was like I was more dedicated.
Toasted. You'd go toasted.
I would go toasted. There was one time I'm pretty sure I was still toasted like that. And so like I would still show up at Toastmasters. And I was just dedicated to just becoming the individual. So what it turned into after I started changing myself internally is, and then we're kind of all over the place.
No, you're good. You're good.
And then changing myself internally and then being at my mom's. So I'm going to backtrack quite a bit. When I went to my mom's, what I did was I wrote down who I wanted to be, who I pictured myself as, the better version of myself that I needed as a kid, the person that I needed when I was laying in that bed, the person I needed when I get bullied in high school and spit wads blown at me.
What did you write down?
I wrote down basically how I wrote out how I would present, how people would perceive me. So from how I carried myself throughout my day, like when you said, "Oh, your posture is really good," I wrote that out. Like I wrote out that I would have good posture. People would view me as a leader through how I carried myself. I would move in like an eloquent way, for sure way. Like the way I move is precise and accurate, and it looks like I know where I'm going. The confidence I have that I've instilled in myself. I wrote that out. I would have supreme confidence in myself. I would have dropped my insecurities, have no insecurities, so how secure I was within myself, all the way down to being I wrote out muscular, lean, athletic. So it's like muscular, lean, athletic.
Look at those arms. Yeah. We got to put some focus on those. Look at that. That's insane.
Yeah. So I wrote this all out. When I left to my mom's, I wrote this all out, and then I started walking into alignment with becoming this. And now after like
what was that process like after you wrote that down and then you started focusing on the steps that you needed to take? What were some of the first steps that you did take? I mean, because you said you started walking in alignment with your goals, obviously.
So this was a long process of becoming aware.
Always is. But did you set like small goals leading up to
No, I set no goals.
No goals. You just started doing it.
So I wrote this out as many times until basically it got like the image got burned in my head. And then I stopped. Like I burned the image, like I visualized how I wanted to look. Even my eye contact with people, I wrote it all out.
You know, one thing that you do that I really like is when you're talking, you don't like stumble. Like if you're about to like stumble over what you are trying to say, you stop, you take a minute and you think about it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's something you've worked on, but I like that.
I think that's a natural thing with me. I think my dyslexia affects how I speak. So I have to stop to regather my words and then keep speaking. Yeah. It's like I will keep stumbling over my words if I don't do that.
I think it's important to do.
Yeah.
I like that.
And I'm confident enough to like, I'm going to gather my thought. If I need to sit here for a minute and just be like, I'll do that shit. So basically, I wrote this all out a year ago. is when I wrote it out. So it's been a while, like just over a year and a half. But when I got to my mom's, I wrote it all out. And in the beginning, it was just I burned the image in my head and then just lived my life. So work out, work out. And I didn't really focus on doing too much other than just trying to not even necessarily do that, but just go about my life with that image in my head. So I wasn't even trying to walk in alignment yet. I was just going about my life, and then with the image in my head. And then I started reading a couple books, one of which was The Alchemist, which I think was a big turning point for me. When I read The Alchemist, it kind of like opened up my eyes to, because like things started when I started doing this, things in my life started happening for me, like weird things that never happened for me. Like people that came into my life, events that were like happening for me now instead of like to me. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? And I like read this book called The Alchemist, and it like talks about the journey and the process of life and how the universe or God kind of like while you're on your journey, when you're walking towards your purpose, puts things in your path for you, whether they're good or bad. Because like I've had shit happen in this journey as well, and
it teaches you how to handle those situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like as I started kind of becoming, and that kind of opened my awareness to this journey. And then I'd say now, like over the last, since December is when I got very, very serious about I don't even want to say the goals, but then I became a lot more aware of if I consciously focus on walking in alignment with that person I'm becoming instead of just walking with the image in my head, I started realizing that these things happen a lot faster than you can even imagine. So if you've seen videos I make, because I started making videos and posting them every day, and got a lot more serious about my diet, a lot more serious about my training, dropped all the vices I was still kind of dabbling in.
What were the vices?
Like drinking and weed.
Okay.
Drinking weed, and then I was like riding the line of getting back into food, that was like teeter tottering, and then also like video games were always like in the back of my mind too. It's like I was just walking this fine line of being this or being that, and then when like December hit, and after these things started happening to me, and I was like passing these tests, I was like, what if I just like focus more, just focus more on becoming this person, and then just do a bunch of actions with the framework of like I'm this person. And then literally from December till now, it took a while, but I think around March hit, and it like hit this like exponential change. You could see in my videos, I think it was like March 4th, went from like a certain level of video to like next level Taylor. It was like the alignment just starts hitting faster, and then as you what's the word, reinforce that person, and you gain the confidence, things just start happening at a much faster rate than you can even imagine.
That's a really interesting point, because that's the idea of like limiting belief, right? Like if you have like a limited belief in yourself that, oh, I'm not this person, I'm not going to be that person, or it's going to take a lot of work to become this person, then that's a limiting belief, because you're almost doubting yourself in a sense. Like this podcast, for instance, when I started this podcast, like I'm looking at like some of the big podcasters, I'm like, man, I'll never be like Joe Rogan, or I'll never be like this person, I'll never be like that, I'll never be good enough to talk like that. But then like as time goes on, I continuously do them and get better and better at it, and start having not better guests, but bigger guests, or even like more interesting guests, or more interesting stories, or like find different ways to make it interesting, find different ways to share people's stories. you eventually become that person.
Mhm.
And then you look back like, man, I came so far. Like I've made so much progress since that moment that you
Yeah.
decided that you were just all in.
Mhm. And then not only that, now that reinforces that because you're on your journey,
Yeah.
you can go even more
Right.
and then more and
Right.
then more. And how much faster can you do it?
Right.
How much better can you do it? Because to add on to that self-limiting belief, you're completely right. It's like why can't you be better than that?
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can always be better. I don't subscribe to that when
But
people say that, oh, I can't do that, or I'll never be that, or like I can never do a podcast, or I can never public speak. Like you could.
yeah, that was my dude. My framework I used to operate off of. I could never. It would be hard for me to do small tasks like pay a bill because like how limited my mind was, how hard I would think tasks were. Like getting I needed a new birth certificate for months, but I always thought the task was so hard, so I limited myself mentally.
Like, I can't
Dude,
do that shit.
you just walk in and get the fucking thing. Like what the fuck? So it's like, okay, so you identified that. How many more areas are you doing that in now?
Right.
Are you
Yeah.
doing that in your fitness? Are you doing that in your business, in your money? What other are you doing that in your relationships with people? Are you doing that taking a risk on yourself?
Yeah. I had a moment like that the other morning. I woke up to go for a run, got ready, and I wake up at 3:45 in the morning. So it's like
That's
cold
when I
and
wake up.
really?
For real. Look.
Yeah. So I woke up at 3:45 in the morning to go for a run and stepped outside and it was pouring rain. I'm like,
Oh,
man,
not I woke up.
at 4?
Yeah,
Okay.
usually it's
So,
3:45.
so yeah, usually I'm like out for my run at like 4 o'clock in the morning, or I'm down here doing the elliptical at 4 o'clock in the morning. But I stepped outside, it's raining, and I'm like, man, I should just turn around, go inside, and do the elliptical instead. But then I thought, what would David Goggins do? He would tell me to get my bitch side out and go do it. And so I did it. I went and ran, and I felt amazing. I was drenched, but it felt great. And yeah, it's like that limiting belief that you should just. And it's the idea that you want to seek comfort too.
Mm-hmm.
You always will like lean towards wanting to just be comfortable.
Yeah, and it never really goes away. You just get better at managing.
Right. That's a
It's
good
like
point.
I still have it too. Because there's days because I post my wake up time like every day. Like people know and people watch.
Yeah.
So like there's days I will literally most days I'm laying in my bed. I'm like so comfortable, and the alarm sometimes even before the alarm. I literally am laying flat and I'm out of my bed in like less than half a second. I literally launch myself out of my bed.
You have to.
I just start going.
You
Like,
have to.
There's no other way.
If you lay there too long, you're like, oh, this is so cozy. I can just go back to bed.
And then there's other mornings where it's like kind of like with your analogy. There's mornings like this morning when I woke up because I got back from Vegas Thursday night and I've been going off like an hour and a half to 2 hours of sleep for like the last few days. And last night I think I got 4 hours, and I was like laying there this morning. I was like, I don't want to get up. And then I'm like lying there, and I'm like, don't be a bitch, bro. Like people are watching, and that's the thing too. So like I squashed that, I got up, and then when I got moving, I started doing cardio, and I feel great.
What do you do for cardio? Because you don't run, so
no, I like the bike,
like a air bike.
So like the whatever bike is at the gym. I don't know. Just the pedal bike at the gym. I like because you can put the because you can kind of mimic running on that with low impact on your knee.
Right. Yeah.
So like I like to do that, and then today I walked on the treadmill a little bit too on the incline.
Okay.
But also with me putting myself out there with my wake up time and people seeing, there have been so many people that like reach out to me and like say thank you for what you do, or they'll like say something that how I inspired them to be better. And I had a dude, this young guy at the gym a couple weeks ago, and this is a Saturday morning, and I'm working out, doing legs, and I was smashing legs. I was like 3/4 of the way through my workout, and I'm like sitting there, and I'm just like, I go hard. I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, oh. And this dude's walking up to me, and I could tell he's going to talk to me. And I was like, man, I'm like, no, Taylor. I was like, you're not like that. It's like, chill out. It was like, he comes up to me, and it ends up being someone I knew. I kind of know. I talked to him a few times when I used to work out at Planet Fitness. And he comes up to me, and then I recognize him. I'm like, oh, I know this guy. And then he goes, hey, man. He goes, I know we don't talk a lot. He's like, I met you, at Planet Fitness, and he's like, I've been following a lot of your stuff on social media, and he's like, I just want you to know that I'm here this morning because of you. You inspired me to be better. And I was sitting there, bro, and I almost started crying. Like I had to like sit back and like pull back my tears.
That's so powerful.
Yeah, and then I stood up and we shook hands, and I was like, I appreciate you like telling me that, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, there's something that it's motivating for, like, you're doing something motivating that's helping other people be motivated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like by posting your workouts, posting your wake up time, and posting that you're at the gym. But then like you're still kind of like going through that process of like, man, I don't want to do this, or even like this is difficult, like it's a struggle. Even though you're posting those things, it's still hard. It's not like it's
not
easy. But when somebody tells you like, hey man, like you inspired me or you motivated me, that's so powerful, because it gives you that little extra amount.
Yeah, so when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, people are almost like, I don't want to say counting on me, but
no, people are counting on you for sure.
Like I need to show up for these people. This isn't about Taylor anymore. This ain't about me. This is about the people I want to inspire, because that's what has happened with me actualizing the person that I wrote down, and I become what I needed. And that's still like, I'm still making iterations and I'm still improving myself. But I'm to the point where I've advanced so far in who I used to be and who I am now, and what society, like average people in society, I might not have materialized much yet, but as an individual, I feel like I exceed quite a bit of people, and it's like I become this person from being so low, from like wanting to take my life, to being this and loving myself and my life so much now.
Well, and you practice what you preach.
Yeah.
Like you're inspiring these people, but it's not like you are fat and lazy.
No.
Like you're completely, I mean, you're jacked. Dude, you got veins popping out right now.
Thank you.
And so people see that, and people see that you wake up at 4 o'clock every morning, or 3:45, and that you're at the gym, and that you're getting after it first thing in the morning. So you're practicing what you preach, and that's so important for somebody who wants to inspire and motivate other people.
Yeah, and now I want to like give myself to other people, because I want other people to do what I did. I want people to improve themselves. I want to be the example that someone else can do this too. Because it's like this feeling that I have, even though like doing the hard shit instills something inside you like that. I can't even explain.
It's resilience.
The confidence, the resilience, the grit, the tenacity.
Well, and one thing I also realized too is that when you decide that there's no excuse, you're going to work out, you're going to do it, it kind of it does something to your brain. Like it does something to you mentally, to where like now all the other bullshit in life won't affect you as much, because you're disciplined, you're dedicated, you have goals, like you have a purpose in life. Whereas like if you didn't have that, then somebody speaking to you or somebody cutting you off in traffic like will affect you. People get depressed like immensely. You were depressed before you got in shape. And are you depressed now?
No. I mean, I have my moments where like I get sad or something, but it's like, no, like I feel I feel on fire most of the time. And then that also comes from like when you're in the gym, that bleeds. Oh, you made a good analogy there. When you're out and about in your life, that bleeds into other areas of your life.
Yeah.
So I took the mindset around lifting and I inject it into my work at the pizza shop. So now, like when I'm working at the pizza shop, whatever task I'm doing, I'm focusing on doing it the best that I can.
I love that.
Like, and then so this is a good mindset hack for you guys listening, if you listen to this far. So basically, any task you're doing, whether you like to do it or not, constantly reinforce positive self-talk behind the task. So if I'm rolling out a pizza dough, and I don't really want to roll out a pizza dough, I'm telling myself I'm the best at rolling out this pizza dough. I'm going to do it the best. I'm going to do it the best of my ability, and I'm going to every single time. And then when I'm doing dishes, I'm going to do the dishes as best as I can every single time. And when you reinforce this positive self-talk behind everything you're doing, it literally flips your negative mind state from a depressed state into a positive state, because you're habitually building a habit of a positive internal environment within yourself, and that literally expands. It starts internally, but then it once you cultivate that internally, it starts expanding externally into your life.
Yeah,
in every aspect.
Yeah, it bleeds into everything.
Yeah, and yes, it does.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, so many, and that's one thing that it really bothers me. Like at work, I posted the other day on Facebook. I said, it said being union incentivizes mediocrity, and it's in that post doesn't mean I'm anti-union. It doesn't mean that I hate unions. It doesn't mean that anything negative necessarily. What it means is that being union and being a part of a union, people don't want you to go above and beyond. They want you to just be mediocre because everybody gets paid to do the same thing. And so if you start doing something extra, they're like, hey, whoa, 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 don't do that. That's not your job. And so it incentivizes everybody to just be mediocre, not to be great. Don't do above and beyond. Just do the bare minimum. Just do the bare minimum, because then they're not going to pay you more to do that. So why would you do it? And I got so much hate for it.
I seen that in the comments, and I was like, oh my god, so many crabs in the bucket.
It made me realize that
people don't understand what that actually means, because you don't, like you said, you don't. It's not like you oppose unions, but maybe you just oppose how they operate.
Yeah, well, I for sure oppose the way they operate.
The system could be fixed.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother subject. Right. But it's the idea behind you have this force that's telling you, hey, don't go above and beyond. Don't do anything that more than what we tell you should be doing. If you do anything more than that, then you're not doing your job, or you're doing more than what your job is stated. Mm-hmm. So don't do that. And I think unions are a good thing, a really good thing for equal pay and equal rights and all that stuff in the workplace. Fine. But as far as incentivizing anybody to want to do anything extra or be better than anybody else, they definitely do not want you to do that. So that was just kind of my point behind that. And then I got so much hate. And
you can take that into life though, because people are not just in the union.
No, it's in everything.
It's everything. So when I started going to when I go to the gym now, before I started putting all of this work in, everybody was buddy with me. Everybody, even though I was still solid and was huge and big, but now I've turned I turned way up, and there's no going back. I've turned. So when I go in the gym, it's I'm working the hardest. I'm going to be the hardest worker in the gym. And ever since I started doing that, it's created a division between how some people see me and how others see me. Some people will see it as an inspiration. Some people are like, fuck you, dude.
Why? Because they think you're trying to be better?
No, maybe fuck you, dude, is the wrong thing. What tends to happen, I think, with that, because people that hate on you, and I don't even see it as hate, but what it is when people see you go from one position to another position, maybe a higher position, they see that in themselves, and it hurts them, it pains them that that's not them.
They're not working hard enough.
Yeah, so it's like when they see you succeeding, they really, whether they're aware of it or not, they see that within themselves. But then that feeling, that pain, comes out in the form of like projected hate, or not even projected hate, like just animosity.
It's jealousy. Yeah,
but it's not like. But at the end of the day, it's not really jealousy, is it? It's kind of like in the form of love, because that's coming out as like they see that for themselves. So they just don't know how to manage their emotion in that internal state. But it's like all that it is.
The way, I think everybody has those kind of feelings. Like I get those feelings often too. Like, especially if I've been slacking on something, you see somebody else doing something great, you're like, man, like that should be me. Why isn't that me? And then you think about it and you look at the situation for what it really is. Like, man, I'm just not doing enough. I'm not actually putting the work and the time in.
Mm-hmm.
And so
they're just kind of calling you out.
I mean, yeah, essentially. And I recognize that. So like when I see, like, for instance, let's say somebody that I know gets an awesome podcast guest. I'm like, man, I need an awesome podcast guest like that. Why can't I have one? Because I didn't put the work in to try to find one.
Mm-hmm.
All I got to do is put some work in, and then maybe I could find one.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's one of those things that like you need to recognize those situations and then just try to change it. Mm-hmm. Make the step forward to better that situation, to put more work in, more effort, more time.
If you're constantly putting in the work, like every single day, you don't like I never feel that feeling.
Well, and you're not.
I used to.
You're not focused on what other people are doing.
Yeah, like I'm so focused on myself.
Yeah.
That I don't have time. I don't even have the energy to worry about what someone else is doing.
Right.
Because I'm so worried about my advancement. And I'm working so hard on my advancement. I don't know anything that's going on around me other than what I'm doing.
That's so important. That's so important for like achieving goals and just being better, like not focusing on what other people are doing. Because the minute you do start focusing on people, then that's when you're kind of distracted from your own goals and your own purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's not healthy. And social media definitely does not help with that.
No.
At all.
Like I post on social media, I might watch a couple stories here and there, but I don't really watch a lot of other people's stories or anything, or like their content. I post and then I get off and I do my thing.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing. Like with social media, I don't generally pay attention to too much. Like I have a friend who always asks me, he's like, hey, did you see this post that this person put up? I'm like, no. I'm like, but I'm too busy posting my own stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have time to look at other people's stuff.
No, it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you can just keep going and going.
Right. Exactly. Dude, we've been going for almost an hour.
Yes, sir.
This is insane. This is a good conversation.
It doesn't feel like
No, never does. Now, obviously you said your goals are to like kind of help other people and help other people realize the potential in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
How do you plan on doing that?
So I plan on getting into coaching. I hired a coach to help me get into coaching. Basically, that call is on Tuesday, which is in 2 days. So that's going to help me build my product and my service.
What kind of coaching is
coaching?
Like fitness or like
both fitness and mindset.
Okay.
I like mindset more than fitness because I think fitness or mindset drives everything. Literally everything. That like mindset will drive your fitness. But obviously, I know a lot about fitness, so I'm just going to take and it does pay to be fit. So I'll just couple the mindset with the fitness.
Yeah.
Because they correlate too, because being fit and doing those acts of going out in the morning, running, lifting, pushing yourself to the, pushing your limits physically helps with the mindset. And like they almost make an infinity loop if you do it right.
Yeah.
Like your mindset will sharpen your body will sharpen your mind.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely does. And that's the power of discipline.
Yeah.
That's how discipline is instilled, by just doing those acts, and it slowly becomes habit, which is so important for mindset.
Yeah. So I'll help people with fitness, their training, nutrition, counting their macros, giving them a macro diet, their training.
That's what I need. I need a macro diet.
And then weekly coaching calls for like mindset or answering any questions with fitness.
Cool.
And that should be hopefully within the next week. I'll be able to offer that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So and it's all will it be online?
All online.
Yeah. So like you'll do Zoom type calls with people. Okay.
I want to make it as scalable as possible. So I want to help as many people as possible.
Cool.
I already do that, and that's like why I post so much of what I post. Like I would just want to give value. So again, going back to, I created this person. I basically self-actualized myself, and now I want to like transcend myself. So I'm in service of other people, no matter where I'm at, whether I'm getting paid or not. So if I'm if I'm walking through a grocery store and I have a conversation with somebody, I start looking for a point where I can help them. Like anywhere I go, whether I'm in the gym, at the grocery store, at the pizza shop, and anywhere I see I can identify that I can help someone. I'm a coach without being a coach yet.
Like, I mean, and it's an act of service, which also helps you.
It's all I want. And yeah, like I'm here to serve people at this point, because going back to my injuries, every time I injured myself, I was in it for me. And even though like slipping on ice wasn't like a direct act of me doing something, I injured myself doing something for me, I was still in the process of like getting back into what I was doing for myself. So I almost feel like life, the universe, God kind of like pushed me into a position like, dude, you need to stop focusing on you and focus on how you can help other people. You're not really here to just serve you. You're here to serve a higher purpose than just yourself.
This is what I was talking about with the lady that was on the podcast yesterday. Is I think that's everybody's purpose in life, is to help and serve other people.
It is.
And I think a lot of people just don't know what that is and what that looks like and how to do that.
Mm-hmm. But
yeah, I think it's so important for humanity, and especially in today's world.
Yeah, and that's another thing I want to. Why I do what I do is because being where I was at, like I was a weak man, like weak. I was a bitch. I was a fucking bitch. And now that I've gotten to a certain point with my discipline, with my work ethic, with my leadership capabilities, you get to a certain point where you elevate, and your awareness, like in that elevation, you become aware. So basically you're looking like as your awareness grows and you elevate, your perspective I don't want to say you're looking down on people, but you have a wider view and you can see more. So as I see more, like what I see in society is basically we're almost being created into being weak men. Yeah, it's everywhere.
In what aspects?
In what, like, just like drifting so much, not being of purpose, always seeking pleasure. Like I've never had an actual strong male role model in my life. Like my dad was always into drinking and gambling. Like I've always had all my male role models have always been in devices, have always been distracted by women, have never been purpose driven, have never even talked to me about being purpose driven. They're always seeking pleasure. And I become since I become more purpose driven and I see the difference between the two, it's almost like we're being pushed into perpetually seeking pleasure. And where you become like a true man, like a man, like it's not even like a macho man. It's like just a man that's capable, a capable man that when business needs to be done, when you need to do something, that's a man. That's a man on his purpose.
Someone you can count on.
So yeah, someone you can count on. And a lot of men these days, you can't count on them. They're late. They're slacking. They're overindulging in food, alcohol, women, drugs.
They're sloppy.
Yeah, they're sloppy. They're not sharp. They're not articulate. They let the women not. I don't want to knock on women, but they just let the women lead. Do you think all these women want to lead all of their relationships all the fucking time? Like, that's got to be exhausting. Like, I'll deliver pizza and like half the guys don't even like, oh, no, we ordered it. And I'm like, why don't you just order it one day, bro? Like, take the burden off your shoulders. Like, why are you putting there? Like, you're still in your pajamas at, like.
My wife makes me order.
Yeah, so it's just like, maybe some not the best examples, but
well, I mean, for sure, men
that like they're and it's even like I just feel like there's a big push towards men being weak.
Well, they for sure demonize men who are what you would consider like macho men, people who are like just tough and gritty.
Tough and gritty.
They demonize those kind of people because in the media because like you're.
But that's where I want to come into place. Like if I have to be demonized, I know I'm a good person. I know where my heart lies. But I want to help these other men stand up like I stood up.
Well, it's almost rewarded to be soft, right?
Yeah.
Like if you are somebody who is undisciplined, someone who doesn't work out, somebody who isn't goal driven, then that's okay. That's okay to be that too. That's okay.
Because I get so hard. Like I am hard on myself. I'm tough on myself.
But like, at what point are we going to make people accountable for the things that they're doing? I mean, or that they're not doing.
Is that ever going to happen? Like, so where we were talking about a little bit earlier is like when you're doing the work, when you see someone doing the work, or when someone else sees you doing the work, and then it makes them want to do the work.
Right.
That's how we hold each other accountable. Is
yeah.
When I do the work, it's going to get you uncomfortable to the point where you're either going to just stay uncomfortable seeing what I'm doing, or you're going to do something about it.
Right.
So like that's what we have to do as men, is kind of just stand up and start like getting to business on a purpose. Like the best ways to start is your fitness and your mindset. Like get fit, drop the weight, get fit, add muscle, get your mind right, and that bleeds over to all the other areas of your life. So,
yeah. I mean, like when you see a video by like David Goggins, and he's like, "Yeah, I was watching my shoes this morning. I sat there for like 15 minutes. I didn't want to put those motherfuckers on, but you know what I did? I went out for a run because I'm not a bitch." Like when you hear that, you're like, "I need to go for a fucking run."
Yeah,
like that's what I need to do. Like it's so important to have people like that in society who are willing to. I guess be like the macho men or the gritty men who are willing to inspire other people and be vulnerable enough to share their kind of like it's kind of an insecurity, right? That you don't want to go for a run, that you're like, you had that thought that I don't want to do this, but they're sharing that publicly to help inspire and motivate other people.
That also, I don't know if that's so much insecurity where that might be. So like David Goggins, most people are gonna view him as a whole different level of human. Like what David Goggins couldn't do, I can't do. So like in his point of sharing that he didn't want to go for a run is humanizing himself and showing the people that follow him like he has the same struggles too, guys.
Right.
He has the same struggles too. He's not any better than anybody else. He's just willing to go through that, like, kind of squash the bitch voice and then go with the boss voice.
Yeah, that's something that I try to do because if I go for a run in the mornings, at 4 o'clock in the morning, the last thing I want to do is go for a run, especially when it's cold and it's nasty out. Like I don't want to go for a run. So when I do like a video, I'll stop halfway through my run and I'll do a video for my Facebook group and then I'll continue running. But I try to like every morning, I try to like describe the feeling I had when I woke up or the feeling that I had leaving to go for that run because most every single day I don't want to do it, but I try to do it, like, or I do it. And I think for a lot of people, those moments when they can make the choice, like, should I just stay in bed or should I just get up and go for a run? Most people will always seek comfort. Including myself. It's just a natural thing to want to do.
Yeah.
And so like if you can kind of describe those feelings to somebody, then other people like associate themselves with that and they're like, oh, okay, well I have those same feelings too. I just need to like push myself.
It's okay to have those feelings.
It's okay as long as you don't succumb to them.
Yeah, you just push through them.
Right.
Do that shit. And that's the test though. That's the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Because that's a test. Like that is a test given to you. Are you gonna go through it or not?
Right.
And when you go through it, you pass the test, you're reinforcing confidence in yourself, credibility.
Yeah.
So I was like talking about, I made a reel before I came here talking about the law of diminishing intent. It's like the moment you have an idea, the more time you let pass by, the less likely you're going to take the action. So like basically that comfort zone is what's going to stop you from taking the action. You get the law of diminishing intent, then you don't go for the run. And then what happens if you don't go for the run? Now all day long, you're in your head.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, I didn't go for a run. I should have went for a run.
I'm lazy.
I'm like, and then now since you didn't pass the test, now you're going to have to deal with your shitty self-talk all day long. Yeah. All day long. Yeah. So you might as well, for the 10 seconds it takes to just throw your fucking shoes on and get out the door and just go and get after it. Once you're in the action, you're like, I'm so glad I'm doing this. And then your entire day is just amazing. It goes so much better. And what we're talking about earlier is like when that person pulls out in front of you in traffic.
Yeah.
But if you have that shitty self-talk already and you didn't do it, that's going to affect you now.
Right.
But if your internal state is already positive and you're vibrating at a higher frequency, because that's what it is you put yourself in a higher state of vibration when you do that act in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you vibrate past that negativity. But if you don't do that act, you're in the vibrational state of that negativity. So then when that person pulls out in front of you, you're aware of it and it affects you and you get all mad and bent out of shape.
Yeah. 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 No, it's completely legit. I mean, it makes sense though, right? I mean, if you wake up first thing in the morning and you have a win immediately, you feel good about yourself. And so you go into your day just feeling great. And so anything that comes along with that, that's negative, you're more than likely not going to react in a way where you might be like, I don't know, you're not going to be angry. You definitely could get angry.
Yeah, you could.
But I think you'll be more controlled and more thoughtful about what you say and do.
It's a lot less likely.
Right.
Especially if you're doing the hack I mentioned earlier, where if you're reinforcing that positive mind state throughout your entire day, because what you're doing when you do that, when you're you reinforce yourself through positive actions, and then you're reinforcing yourself through positive self-talk. What you're doing is you're respecting yourself at such a high level. When someone tries to disrespect you that isn't respecting themselves, you don't even you barely feel it. You don't
laugh
even,
it off.
you don't even feel it. Like
Yeah.
I was in the gas station a couple weeks ago, and this lady was literally standing right behind me, like bitching about the cash registers or the cashiers, and I could like feel her breath down my neck. So I take a step forward. I'm like, okay, I'll just create my distance. And then she takes another step forward, and same thing. And I turn around and I go, hey, miss, hey, ma'am, can we get some like personal space here? I'm like, I kind of feel breathing. And she was like, started flipping out, fuck you, motherfucker, blah, blah. And I was just like, you're mad, huh? And then the guy like finally called me up, and as I'm like checking out, she like I went past it. Like I was already like, I kind of laughed it off. I was like, this is hilarious. Like it wasn't even that big of a deal. And she's still barking at me, and then like I'm just doing my thing, and I'm like, wow, you really I was like, you must be going through something. I'm sorry. I was like, I'm sorry you're having such a bad day, miss. And like I'm still like doing my thing, put my card in the machine, and the guy's just like, dude, are you okay? I'm like, no, man, bro. And he's like, no. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm good, man. I was like, really? She's just having a bad time. And like as I'm leaving, I was like, have a nice. I was like, I hope you have a better day. And I start walking. She got even more mad. I was like, but it like you just go past that when you respect yourself at such a high level, because obviously if she's talking like that, she doesn't respect herself.
Yeah.
So like it's almost innate. Like I didn't even have to think. Like it was such an innate feeling of like, wow, you must be having a bad day. I'm not having a good day. I'm not even gonna let you affect me.
Right.
Like, I didn't even have to think about it. It was such a natural
to let someone affect you like that too gives them power over you.
Yeah.
You know.
Because I feel like a lot of times like people will like force themselves almost to not react to things. But if you get how do you do that?
What's that?
I like that.
Oh, you can just yeah.
So if you are
we were talking about like how it gives people power.
Yeah. So like if you instead of like focusing on not letting people affect you, if you focus on affecting yourself in such a positive way, those things just don't align with you at all. So then you don't even have to spend energy on combating those things because they just don't exist, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's such a good point. So when you launch this coaching program, how can people sign up for it?
That would be if you follow my Instagram, Taylor J Vitale, at Taylor J Vitale. So my first last name Taylor, J as in Jerry, V as in Victor, Itale. A lot of my content gets posted on Instagram, and then I'll probably have my funnel through Instagram until I get like the website and stuff set up. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then following my Instagram, I post daily on my story, so you can see what I'm doing daily, what I'm eating, what I'm doing for workouts. Almost always the same stuff. I'm super consistent, and then I post reels as inspiration and motivation for other people as well. So that's all free. So
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
The coaching out will be charging for. I believe the rate's going to be like $300 a month, $750 for 3 months, $120 or $1,200 for 6 months, and $2,000 for a year.
Cool.
And then that would be mindset, macros, fitness. So you get weekly Zoom calls, and then your nutrition you can dial in for me. So
Sweet.
And then access to communication with me as well. So
That's sweet. That's sweet, dude.
I'm always here. I'm always here for people. So I mean, even if you just were to follow me, and then if you ever have questions, I'm always here to answer people's questions, to help inspire and motivate people. And if you're a dude that is down and out, know that that's not, you're not stuck there. You can overcome a lot of shit. So if you feel like you're down and out, you can get to the other side, and you can become the man that you want to become, that you need to become, and then you can also give that man to other people. So I inspire you, if you are down and out, start taking positive actions. Start following people that can feed your mind some inspirational stuff to get going, and then just get after it. That's all you have to do. Don't think about it. Stop thinking. We think too much. We just have to get going and get doing the actions that we need to take.
Dude, that's awesome. I love it. Thanks for doing this podcast. Cool. This was a lot of fun. We'll definitely have you back again.
I'd love to be back.
Oh, you will be, for sure.
I'm grateful for this opportunity. So I want to say thank you. Can I tell the story real quick about how I got here? So this is kind of crazy how I got here.
It is pretty crazy.
Okay. So I make these reels. I make these reels on Facebook, Instagram mostly. And one day I was posting about seeking discomfort. You need to seek discomfort to get growth and to become a better person, a better individual. And after I posted this video, I'm driving out of a parking lot, and I'm driving my car, and it, like, stuff keeps going wrong in it, and I keep having to get it repaired, and I have to keep getting it fixed. And I don't want to spend my money to get a new car. I can, but I'm uncomfortable spending my money. And then I had a thought in my head, damn, Taylor, you just told people to be uncomfortable. But you're not willing to be uncomfortable when you're having, like, when your car keeps inconveniencing you. Because I have to keep taking time to fix it or get it fixed. You can just get a new car and you're not spending this time, but you're too uncomfortable to spend your money. Well, now you're a hypocrite, Taylor. You're a hypocrite. This is like how I talk to myself in my head. You're a hypocrite. I'm like, word. And then I was basically, it was like, you're gonna buy a car tomorrow. I was like, oh damn, for real. So I go out to eat with my friend every Sunday. So we like catch up on each other's weeks. We meet up. I just get some like grilled chicken and some vegetables, and we just talk for a little while. And he sells cars, so I find this car on his lot, and I'm like, bro, I want to buy this car. It's like this awesome silver Cadillac. So they open up Sunday morning. So it's Sunday night, Monday morning they open up, and I'm like, what time do you guys open up? What time are you gonna be there? I'll be there. He's like, 9 o'clock. I'm like, I'm there at 9 sharp. So I show up to get this car. I'm like, I'm ready to buy. Like, I need to get myself out of my comfort zone. I'm operating purely off intuition. This entire day, I operated completely out of intuition. Like no logic, no, just pure intuition. Whatever that intuitive feeling was telling me to do, I just did it. And so he pulled the car up. I'm looking at it, and then there's this crack in the dash, where, like, with the backup camera and stuff like that. And I'm like, bro, I can't buy this. Like, this is gonna, like, tell my subconscious, like,
you made a bad mistake.
I was like, I need to get something that's baller, that's boss. It's gonna, like, reinforce positive mindset. Because it's less about the car and what I'm buying. It was more about the mindset behind what I was doing. So, like, it's not telling myself the right thing. So then I start looking. So my old self would have been like, I guess I'm not supposed to buy a car today. I would have stopped. But since I'm operating off intuition, it's like, no, I need to get a car today. I need to do a car today because that's the most uncomfortable thing for me to do right now. So then I start looking for another car, and I used to work at this car dealership. I found a car that at a car dealership I used to work at, and I used to get bullied and hazed at this car dealership terribly. And I was like, oh man, that'd be so awesome about a car, especially like how I am now. And then I was like, and then that, intuition was like, you got to buy it from the person that bullied you the most if it still works there. So then I go to like look at the Meet the Team thing, and I'm scrolling through, and I found him. I'm like, oh, he's a manager. Great. So then I look for his direct number. I call his direct number, and I'm calling that shit, and it's ringing, and then he answers like, kind of, like a bitch, and he goes, I'm not gonna say his name. He goes, thank you for calling this dealership. How can I direct your call? And I was like, yeah, I'm looking for so and so, and he's like, this is. I was like, hey, motherfucker. I was like, it's Taylor Vitale. Remember me, bitch? And he's like, oh, yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's that. I was like, it's that bitch used to fucking bully back in the day. I was like, I'm a fucking man now. What's up? And he's like, whoa. Recorded line, sir, recorded line. And I'm like, fuck your recorded line. I'm ready to buy a fucking car. I was like, can you tell me about this document? Like, this is just intuition. This was uncomfortable for me to do. I'm not that high strung, but something was just telling me to fucking do it. So I give him this document number. He goes, looks at the car, tells me some information about the car. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to come in and look at it. I have it ready for him. He's like, okay, I got you. You can ask for me, so you don't have to deal with any other salespeople. I'm like, okay, word, I got you. So I get in there. We talk. I tell him a little bit about my story, and we have a good dialogue. Like, I'm not in there to just be a dick the whole time. But the cool thing was, I'm going to get that will be later in the story. But anyways, I look at the car. I like the car. It's this like Acura sports car, kind of like a TLSH SHDL or something like that. It's a fast Acura, and I'm like, I'm ready to buy it. I'm ready to buy this one. And then he passes me off to the salesperson, and they appraise my car, which is a 2010 Ford Fusion, 140,000 miles on it. Trade value was approximately like $1,500, fair trade. They asked me what I want to get for the car, and I'm like, I used to sell cars. I know the name of the game. I ain't saying shit. I go, no, I don't know. So the guy goes, oh, okay. And he goes off, gets the numbers, comes back. It took like a half hour to get these numbers. I'm just like, oh my gosh, holy shit. I walk around, ready to buy this car. Can you guys hurry up? Comes back with the numbers, shows me the numbers, and then he goes, yeah, we can give you $250 for your trade. And I'm like, what? And he's like, huh? We're going to give you $250 for your trade. And I was like, fuck that shit. It's like $250. It's worth more than that. And he's like, well, it is in rough shape. And I'm like, dude, I know my car's a piece of shit. I was like, but it's not that much of a piece of shit, bro. I was like, I'm fucking out of here. So I like grab my jacket and I'm leaving. He's like, whoa. He's like, wait, can we talk about the numbers? I'm like, no, you guys are obviously that shady. Like, I can't trust anything you guys say after this point. If you're gonna give me $250 for a car, you can still get 50,000 miles out of. Like, it's worth way more than scrap. Yeah. So like, I put my jacket on and I'm feeling for my keys. I don't have my keys. They held on to my keys. Like, I'm not gonna leave. And I'm like, I'm like, where are my keys, bro? I was like, where are my keys, bro? Where are my keys? And he's like I was like, give me my fucking keys. And he's like, well, Brian has them. I was like, go get them for fucking Brian then. And I started barking at him a little bit too much. And then he kind of like broke down and was like, you go get them. And I was like, oh. I was like, I fucking will. And I just like walked it. I think he said his name. Oh well.
Nobody knows the dealership or anything.
Okay, so I walk in, I snag my keys, like I just give him a desk there, and I'm like, I'm walking out. Like, and as I'm walking out, basically what has happened at that point was I was in an environment where I used to get bullied. where I used to get beat down. And I literally, when I walked through that door, like I pulled everybody's card. No one could say nothing to me. And it was like reinforcing, like, you're him now. Like, you don't have to worry. You don't have to be bullied. You don't have to be berated. You don't have to be beat. You're a resilient man now. So then I get to the point where I'm like in my car and I'm like, oh, I was like, I really got to buy something to show these motherfuckers like what the fuck's up. And so then I go to Courtesy where Will works. Will, you're a beast. If you see this, thank you. So, oh, I gotta print that. Will, you're a beast. Thank you. So I'm looking at this used Jeep. It was kind of okay. And then Brittany was like, so as I'm looking at the Jeep, so I go to Courtesy, look at the Jeep. I'm just ready to buy. I'm driving the Jeep, this used Jeep, and Brittany mentioned, like, if you look at the new one, we can get you in one of those as well. And I'm like, man, that's gonna stretch me a lot, and I don't want to get stretched out that much. But I am seeking discomfort. So I was like, pull that one up. I guess I'll take a look at it. And I was taking a look at that one, and I was driving it, and as I was driving it up, like, I just felt like a boss, like Taylor. Like, the intuition was like, you need to get this one. And then, so before I start this part of the story, for 2 weeks before this happened, I've been trying to figure out how to get on a podcast. Like, my coach that's going to help me set up my service is talking about getting on, like, you need to start getting on podcasts. So I was like, I've been trying to figure out how to get on podcasts. And so I'm getting ready to buy the Jeep, and then I see your brother Will. And we're signing papers, and I'm like, at first I'm kind of like sitting back, just kind of like feeling him out. And it's like I start getting that vibe, he's a cool dude. So I start like getting in that flow with him and start talking to him. And then I start telling him about how I'm not there to actually buy the car. I'm actually here. It's not even about the car. Like, fuck the car. I'm here to like get like discomfort because I don't want to spend my money. And I'm telling people to be uncomfortable, but I'm not practicing I wasn't practicing what I'm preaching. So I'm here to practice what I preach. And he was just like, damn. And then I like shoot a quick video with him and I post it. And like after signing the paperwork, he goes, man, my brother would really love to probably connect with you. Like, do you mind if I connect him with you? And like for a sec, like before he said anything, I was like in my head because a lot of people have been trying to connect with me now that I've become this. Like a lot of people that try to suck my energy. I'm like, oh, man, another freaking energy vampire. And then he goes, yeah, he has a podcast and we'd probably love to have you on it. And I'm like, my jaw dropped. I was like, what'd you say, bro?
I'm listening.
I was like, and then he's like, he has a podcast in Lansing and he'd probably love to have you on. And I'm like, dude, I've been trying to get on a podcast for like 2 weeks. I'd love to do that. And it's like, it's so crazy how the universe, life can just happen for you when you take the risks and you do things, operating out of your intuition and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Things can happen for you. And it's like how this wouldn't have happened if I didn't push myself out of my comfort zone. And I didn't even try for this to happen. It just happened. It was such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It just like blew my mind. I was like, does this like stuff happen all the time? I don't know.
Well, and the cool thing about that is like, this probably won't be your first podcast like that I will connect you with. Because I know several people that have podcasts.
I'm down to do all the podcasts.
All of them. So, that's something that, I could help set up for you. So, like, I mean, that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
That even happened.
Yeah, I was just like, that's why my jaw dropped. Because I was like, I didn't tell him anything about podcast. No one knew. I was the only person that knew that I wanted to get on a podcast. I didn't tell anybody. Wow. I think I told my mom and like some people at work that I wanted to. But like when I was buying my sole focus when I was buying cars, I didn't know these people other than Brittany.
Wow.
So like literally, Will had no idea.
That's crazy.
It's like, and then he just said, I was like, dude, no way. Like my mind was so blown.
That's amazing. And that goes back to stepping out of your comfort zone and doing the things that you don't want to do, but doing them anyways, because you said you would.
Yeah. So if I quit at the first car, if I didn't walk, because my old self probably would have negotiated with those people, because like
right.
I would have been mad and upset internally, but I would have been too uncomfortable to just leave.
Right.
But I was like, no, you guys that how you're doing business is not congruent with me at all. I gotta get out of here. Right. I need to go to a place that I'm congruent with. And then I went to a place that obviously was congruent with me, or else this wouldn't even have happened as well.
Right.
I was congruent with buying the right vehicle, congruent when I was signing paperwork with Will. And then the universe just kind of unfolded for me.
That's so amazing. Yeah. That's so amazing. That's such a cool story. I love that. Yeah. I love that you shared that.
I wanted to open with that, but
well, we'll close with it.
Yeah.
Taylor, thanks again for doing this. This was a lot of fun. You'll definitely be back, and we'll hook you up with some other podcasts.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. See you, everybody.